What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee Break Tuesday. It has been a minute since we have participated in one together. So sit back, kick your feet up, and sip you a little coffee, because today we're delving into something that I am very passionate about, and that is what I call the classical Reformation. But what is that exactly? And why are so many people, especially young people, turning back to the wisdom of our ancestors, picking up old books and replacing tiny screens with great literature? Hamlet, Byron, Milton, and the Greeks. What can this movement teach us about the chaotic world we live in today? Let's get into it.
Bells ringing, birds singing, hello, good morning.
To understand the classical Reformation, we first need a quick history lesson. The original Reformation in the 16th century was a religious and cultural revolution, spearheaded by Sir Martin Luther. I say sir because he was disguised as a German knight for a bit while he was in hiding. The Reformation challenged the old structures and called for a return to foundational truths, especially those found in scriptures and the early church. It was back to the basics, so to speak. Now, it did not go as Luther had originally intended. As the church broke apart, war commenced, and a new spirit of individualism swept over Europe. And, like all things men put their hands on, the good intentions would fragment truth even further. This movement wasn't just about theology. It was about recovering clarity, virtue, and authentic living. But like Francis Bacon said, let there be variety in the garment, but let there be no division. Fast forward to today, the classical Reformation is a cultural and educational revival. It's about returning to the classics, the great books, the trivium, grammar, logic, and rhetoric, and the cultivation of virtue and wisdom through disciplined study, but also through disciplined living. This isn't about nostalgia or romanticizing the past. It's beyond that. It's a practical response to modern problems. The distraction, the superficial and loss of meaning, the loss of identity through cultural erasure. So why are so many people, students, parents, educators, embracing classical education and its values today? One reason is because we're drowning in noise. Social media, quick fixes, and self-help gurus will not provide us the wisdom that we need. And AI can help us learn, and it can be a great tool, but the struggle to keep up with it will only increase the anxiety and confusion we see in the world. The classical model teaches us how to think deeply, argue well, and live ethically. It trains not just the mind, but the soul. You step out of the world for a bit, and you sit down with an old text, and you exercise your mind to think. This kind of education is desperately needed in our fractured culture, a culture and society that is disparaged and searching for meaning. You don't have to enroll in a classical school or master Latin overnight to be a part of this movement. So here are some simple ways to just start. Begin reading the great books. Start with accessible classics like Ben Franklin's autobiography, Plato's Apology, or The Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. I have covered all these on my channel, and you'd be surprised how accessible, relatable, and actually entertaining some of these old works are. Frankenstein is great. The Brothers Karamazov is good, or even A Brave New World. If a dude from the swamps of Louisiana can navigate my way through them, then so can you. If you struggle with reading, then start out by listening and then read. Many of the classics can be found free via audio version, whether it's YouTube or Audible. Next, I would say practice the trivium. Put it into practice. Focus on understanding, which is logic, mastering and practicing language, which is grammar, and expressing yourself clearly through rhetoric. Journal regularly. Reflect on what you read and how it applies to your life. No Grammarly, no ChatGPT, just a pen, paper, and a quiet setting. Now, I have 4 kids, 2 dogs, and 2 cats, so a quiet setting is the hardest thing for me to obtain, at least at this point in my life. The goal is not completion, but application and understanding. If there is a work you disagree with, pull out the pen and paper and show Luther where he is wrong. Explain to Aquinas what he missed. Recite poetry and learn to control your voice, your enunciation, your elocution. How does Milton's essays, Cicero's orations, and Plato's philosophy impact your life? How has it impacted society? The goal is to cultivate virtue, patience, courage, honesty, as some of the ancients did. Throughout history, there are periods in which we lose the sense of being human. The cycles of economy, war, and politics all contribute to these dehumanizing cycles. The classical Reformation is about reclaiming the habits and mindsets that make us fully human, setting aside the things that divide and finding common ground with those of the past, exploring the soul and rekindling the love for literature, honesty, fellowship, and family. Do not let anyone demonize your culture and traditions. Most of the individuals participating in this sort of degrading disparagement may not realize they have been conditioned to do so. Where C.S. Lewis tells us about the abolition of man, we are simply trying to reform him. A man is not he who roars the loudest, but the gentleman, courageous and intelligent, who is humble enough to open doors for complete strangers. Raise your sons and daughters in a way that sets them up to slay any dragon and the confidence to read any book. To sum it up, the classical Reformation is more than a trend, and it's not political. It's a calling back to a timeless wisdom that can transform how we think, learn, and most importantly, live. Some people always ask, how will a classical form of education help me get a job? And if that is the question, then you've missed the point. If you want to make money, learn a trade or start a business. If you want to cultivate your identity and virtues, then read and implement the teachings of the classics. If you want to dig deeper, I'll link some great books and resources below. If you are reading through the Harvard Classics with me, you can check out my Substack post, or you can follow the channel here, or even via podcast. So whether you want to read Substack, watch on YouTube, or listen on podcast, I got you covered. And it's all free. I have a job, so I'm not trying to make money with all this. It's just something I truly enjoy doing. I love reading these old books and just sharing my takeaways. Let me know in the comments below, how do you see the classical ideas shaping your life? What questions do you have about this revival in classical literature and culture? And what can we all do to continue to restore our lost treasure of truth? I would love to hear from you, and thank you so much for watching. Stay curious, stay humble, enjoy some fantastic coffee, and as always, like I say, stay blessed. I love you all. Thank you.